Guess who's back? Back again. Okay, that's dumb. Yes, I am filming 2 videos in a row. I have not bothered to try and fake like I'm not because I am tired. And both of these videos need to go out in the next 2 days because I'm a procrastinator and I wait till the last minute. Let's go on. This video is going to be about my 2020 reading resolutions and the 2020 challenges I'm going to be taking on. I already hate myself. So let's start with the challenges because that will take the most time. A little bit of background, I am obsessed with reading challenges. As I mentioned in my Christmas haul video, I am a competitive person that goes triply when I'm competing against myself. So reading challenges really feed into that, and I consider them constructive. I also like them because they make me feel like I have structure, even if that is a false feeling. I know well and good that I likely will not finish every challenge I start on any given year, much less all of them. Sometimes I finish none of them. And at the end of the year, I'm okay with that. Throughout the year, I'm trying my best because I want to win, whatever that means. I never officially go sign up for these challenges like with the blogs that host them, so it's not like I'm gonna get a prize or anything like that. I just have a pride problem, and that's gonna bite me this year because I decided for 2020 I'm doing 20 reading challenges. You heard me right, folks. 20 reading challenges. Some of these are going to be incredibly easy. Some of them are very, very short. I think the shortest one has only 5 reading prompts on it. It's still a large number of challenges. So let's jump right in. I will have links to all of these in the box below. I'm going through these on my computer, so you might see me like glancing down and hear me clicking. When I have it written down in my personal document for each challenge, what blog it comes from, I will say it, but everybody will be linked and credited. Hi, Lizzie, in the details below. This is Lizzie. Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't come over here while I'm filming and I won't grab you like that. So to start, no, she's coming right back. So to start, this is a challenge I have chosen because it focuses on reading books you already own, which is a problem that I have. This is not my only bookshelf. These are not all of the books I own physically. Don't get me started on digitally. I could probably just count on my 2 hands how many of these books I've read. I do have a collection problem. I consider this genetic. Thanks, Dad. I love, while I don't believe in books as a sacred object, I do love books as items. Bennett has joined us as well. She'll actually probably run away and stay away now that I've done it. Lizzie is in my lap. Anyway, so this challenge is not a prompt-based challenge. It is a goal-based challenge to read the books that you own. It is called the #StartOnYourShelfathon, and it is hosted by the blog The Quiet Pond. The basic gist of it is you set a goal for the number or percentage or whatever of books you own that you want to read in the year, and you go from there. There's more interactive stuff you can do if you want. I may or may not. Again, I rarely actually officially sign up for these things, but it involves hunting stars and creating your own constellations, and the mascot is a sloth, and that's adorable. So I might actually do the like social aspect of this because it's so cute. And I've decided that my 3 main goals for this are going to be no buy, and this is part of my resolution, so I'll go into it a little bit later. No more buying new books with limited exception. I want, over the course of the year, at least 30% of my reading to have been books that I own. I would prefer for that number to be higher, but I am being realistic and setting that number a little lower than my first instinct was. And then my third goal is, because I'm reading books I own and because a lot of the challenges that I do, which is where my library usage and my buying comes from, is I frequently do challenges that are meant to diversify your reading, and I realize that I don't own books that fulfill those prompts. So over the course of reading the books that I own, I want to examine what I've been spending my money on. Granted, I don't actually buy new books that often, simply because I don't have a lot of expendable income to be spending on books. But that just makes it all the more important to look at where I am spending that money, the authors, publishers, bookstores, all of that I'm supporting with that money, and maybe reevaluate how and where I'm spending that money. The next one is a challenge I actually meant to do for 2019 and completely fell off the wagon for. Oh my God, sorry. It's A Year of Harry Potter by @Mrs. Katie Fitz on Instagram. She came up with a brilliant reading schedule for the Harry Potter books to read them evenly over the course of the year. So like a certain number of chapters per week, and then you end the year December 31st reading the epilogue. It's beautiful. I was in awe the first time I saw it. I fully intended to do it for 2019. I actually started, if you have seen my blog at all, you will see I did do the Philosopher's Stone. I don't think I did it on schedule, but I did it because I also blogged along with Harry Potter and the Sacred Text for it. I may not do that for the rest of the books, although I do love the podcast and I will always listen to it. But I did struggle, I think because I was doing it myself and not with another person, I did struggle at some points to do each chapter the way I felt like maybe it was intended to be done or examined. So I'm going to be doing Year of Harry Potter. A friend of mine runs this one. Her blog is Reading Listen at Blogspot. When she sent me the link for this, I was a little nervous because it is an academic reading challenge, and I was worried that I would need to be an academic to participate, but that's not true. There are some prompts that you can tell are very based in the academics, but it's definitely accessible for non-academic people. It is a prompt-based challenge. There are 15 main prompts, and then I think 3 extra credit prompts. Yes, 3 extra credit prompts. And each prompt is assigned a point value. So at the end of the year, you can tally up your points and, you know, have that. The next thing that I'm doing is, it's actually less of a challenge and more of a list that I found, and I'm kind of turning it into a challenge. It is a list of the best 25 short stories of all time. I love short stories. I realized this past year that I almost never read them standalone. I always read collections. And while in many ways a collection of short stories is a very easy, quick read, it can also be a little intimidating if it's a longer collection just because of the sheer number of stories that are in it. So this list was come up with by the Bibliophile with an F. But yeah, so obviously 25. And I feel like part of the challenge here will be finding some of these. I've heard of a lot of them, but I also have not heard of a lot of them. My cat is telling me I need to take the Christmas tree down. I promise I'll learn video editing at some point and be able to cut this kind of stuff out. I'm sorry. The next challenge I'm doing is another one that I meant to do this year. I created the document for it, and I even did a couple of the prompts, and then I kind of just forgot about it. It is a comics challenge. I've gotten into comics over the last few years, and I felt like this was a good call for me. It's called Comics Are for Everyone. I do not have the blog link for the folks who came up with it. I'll get that in the details box below. It has 37 prompts, which sounds like a lot, but it's comics. A lot of these are probably going to be single issue. Even some of them are like a graphic novel or something like that, but they're sequential art-based books. Are very quick, easy reads. My next one is an LGBT plus bingo board, which I love me a good bingo board. So obviously there's 25 prompts, 24 if you don't want to count the free space. I'm using the free space as a freebie, any queer book I want to read kind of space, so I'm still counting it as a book. And this is being done by, I think, Enthralled Bookworm. Yes. I'm also doing the 4 challenges that came in my Little Inklings Always Fully Booked planner. So her actual prompt-based challenge, which has 39 prompts. That's an awkward number. I don't like that number. The On the Cover challenge, which is like items on the cover, also prompt-based, obviously. And that has 10 items. Her Reading Rainbow challenge, which is colors. There are 12 total because she has red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and then pink, white, black, gold, silver, and bronze. Those 2 are probably going to be pretty easy. I'll probably accidentally almost finish them and only have to go out of my way for a couple of things on those 2 lists. There's also the A to Z challenge in the planner, which is, you know, reading books that start with every letter of the alphabet. Moving on, I'm also doing Modern Mrs. Darcy. This is a challenge I've been doing for several years now, and I'm kind of doing it out of habit. I am resistant to change. So, but I do like her challenges. They're fairly basic compared to some other ones that I do, but that in and of itself is a little relaxing. So hers is a prompt-based challenge. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 prompts. One of them is 3 books by the same author, so 12 books total would be the goal there. Next up, there are 2 challenges from girlxoxo.com. One is a monthly book award reading challenge, so 12 books ideally, and then it is a book a month that has won an award, but the twist is that the award has to be given that month. So in January you would read a book that won an award that is given in January. That's gonna be really interesting actually for me because I'm really bad at paying attention to book awards. I'm sorry. But in that, I feel like it'll help me learn more about book award scheduling throughout the year. And also, I don't pay attention to like the books that win awards, and maybe I should. I don't know if I could tell you who's won like the Nobel Prize for Literature recently. Oh wait, that musician didn't he? I don't know his name though. See, I need this challenge. The second one is a monthly motif challenge. So again, 12. And each month has a different theme that you want to read a book in that theme. Like January, for example, is Winter Wonderland, so I should read a book set during winter, which sounds like the perfect excuse to pick up the sequel to Winter Song, because I loved that book and I still haven't read the second one. Doing the Pop Sugar reading challenge, again, prompt based. I'm not gonna count the number of prompts. I don't remember. There's a lot. Pop Sugar is the one that I never finish. It's the one I've been doing the longest. I love it because of the sheer variety of prompts that they put on this list. I will probably, unless Pop Sugar somehow becomes insanely problematic in some way, I will probably do the Pop Sugar reading challenge forever. Let's see, I'm doing the reading glasses challenge this year. I meant to do it for 2019 and again forgot. Like I heard about it on the podcast and made a mental note to go make a document and do it, and immediately that mental note went in the mental shredder because that's how my brain works. But for 2020 I am doing it. It is a prompt-based challenge, but it is in 2 parts. So the first 5 prompts are reading prompts, and then the second 5 prompts are activity prompts. And I like that aspect because reading is kind of inherently a solo, passive hobby. So having activities connected to this makes you really like think about how reading is affecting your life. Like one of the activity prompts this year is to donate a book, which, I mean, that one's pretty easy for me. Anytime I go to McKay's, I clean out my shelf because whatever I'm turning in, that is the money I use to pay for whatever I'm picking up, because you know you can't leave McKay's without getting books. Don't get me wrong, I definitely spend more than what I get for the books I turn in because I'm bad with money. And especially when books are involved, what budget? I'm doing Reading Women. This is one I've been doing for 2 or 3 years now. It is also prompt-based. As you can probably guess, the thing with this one is that the authors should be women. I really view it as the authors should not be men. And this conversation with a friend recently, and I really just, it is gendered in the name, Reading Women, but I've never specifically like only read women. Like I've never picked up a book that's by a non-binary author or a gender fluid author or anything and been like, oh, I can't read this because it's not a woman. I just, as long as it's not a dude, I pretty much will count it for the Reading Women challenge. Again, prompt-based, there's 24 of those. I belong to what is essentially an online book club. It's way more because it's always more. But I call them my book coven. I'll probably refer to them a lot as this thing goes on YouTube. That's the word. I'm tired. We created our own challenge this year to replace the Book Riot challenge, because a lot of us, how we got together is because Book Riot turned shitty and we said no thank you, and made our own thing. But we came up with our own challenge this year, and I'm going to be doing that one. I'm not going to talk too much about it because our group is very private, but that is one of them, and I'm really looking forward to it, especially because I contributed. Like I have a prompt on a reading challenge. It's really cool to me. And then like all the other prompts came from my friends. Like I love these people and they're telling me to read these books. Okay, I can do that. This year I very specifically wanted to do a sci-fi reading challenge because I read a lot of fantasy and I do like sci-fi, but I tend to let it fall to the wayside because fantasy, dragons. So a friend of mine found this one for me. It is the Swords and Stars challenge, prompt based. How many are there? There are 20. And I'm really looking forward to it. There are some things on here that I've never heard of, so I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. We'll see how that goes. I found another very short challenge. It's called What's in a Name. It is hosted by, do I have the link here? Carolina Book Nook. It is 6 prompts long. I already have all 6 of these books planned. But it's a title-based challenge, so things that should be in the title. Like one of them is an ampersand, which is different from having the word "and" in the title. So like you have to pay attention. And I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be a fun one. I think it'll be pretty easy for me to complete. And then my last one is from RamonaMead.com, and it is called the While I Was Reading Challenge. Again, it is prompt-based, 12 prompts. It overlaps a lot with some of the other challenges I'm doing, so again, I think this one will be pretty easy for me to finish if I try. And that's all of them. If I finish any of these, I'll be just as shocked as the rest of you, I promise. So my reading resolutions, I didn't need to do that. I have to pull this up because I forgot to do it before I started the video, and I'm dumb. I am again doing 20, so 20 bookish reading resolutions for 2020. I know I'm so unique and creative with my 20 theme here. I actually didn't have as much trouble as I thought coming up with these resolutions. I thought coming up with 20 would be hard, but it hasn't been. Oh, brilliant. It's making me reset my password. Again, someday I will learn video editing, I promise. Oy, oy, oy. But yeah, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Turns out, if you're just trying to like shoot off a bunch of ideas basically on a theme, as long as you don't let yourself think about how important you think it is, it can be really easy. I really only had to ask for help once I hit 18. Yeah, 18. Once I got to that point, I did show the list to my husband, and I asked him to maybe think of 1 or 2 more for me, help me out. And he did, actually. He did contribute to this list. Thanks, honey. Here we go. Finally have it up. Finally not boring people anymore, including myself. So, number 1, let's make this YouTube channel work. We'll see about that. I do want to post regularly, twice a month or so at minimum. Hopefully more. We'll see how it goes. Like I said before, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to edit videos. People could stop watching because I'm long-winded. This video is at 25 minutes already, or because my videos just suck, and that would be totally fair. And if that happens, it happens. It's cool. Second one is to get back onto regularly posting on Instagram. I want to do 3 times a week minimum. Hopefully more again, but that is my resolution. My goal amount is 3 times a week regularly. I'm gonna try and bring back Friday reads every week instead of randomly. I want to do like the literary holidays and like actual holidays and special events, posts for those. I want to, like, basically ideas I had when I started my blog, I want to go back to those and actually do them. So we'll see about that one. Speaking of the blog, number 3 is to blog at least once a month, not counting book reviews, like actually on a topic, which I feel like a lot of YouTube videos could have an adjacent blog post. So I'm hoping they'll help carry each other, basically. Number 4, and here we go, back with the 20, is to read 20 things per month. That sounds like a lot, but I don't necessarily mean books. It could be a poem would count. I've been signed up for the Poem a Day newsletter for the last 1.5 years or so, so I feel like this one's going to be really easy. But I do want to make sure that I'm actively reading on a daily basis. It's good for my mental health, which can take some dips and slides. It's good for really just me in general, and I want to make sure I'm prioritizing that. It is self-care in a very, very basic, visceral way for me. Another 20, my number 5 is to read for 20 minutes per day. So that will probably be books, or it could be like, I'm doing a lot more professional reading now that I've settled into my career in animal welfare. Well, I'm at the beginning of it, but this is like, I can feel it in me that this is my career. This is what I will be doing for the rest of my life. So I'm doing some very specific work-related reading. So things like that, like articles from journals and stuff like that, would count towards this 20 minutes. Number 6, the no-buy that I mentioned before. I want to, again, I buy books and then don't read them for years at a time. I have the entire Discovery of Witches trilogy up here. I bought it, I remember the day that I bought it at McKay's. I was with my dad. I convinced him to lend me some money so I could buy them because the whole trilogy in hardback was sitting on the shelf and I couldn't pass it up. That was at least 3 years ago. I haven't touched them. I think I put a picture of them on Instagram once. I have not read these books. So no more of that. I'm gonna try no more of that. Exceptions to this no buy. If I receive a gift card, I'm allowed to spend the gift card. That would be stupid otherwise. If there's a book that I've had on my wish list for a long time and I find it on a discount or a sale, secondhand somewhere, I can go ahead and buy it. Especially if it completes a series that I already partially own. Like if I find the hardback of Times Convert for $5 at a yard sale, I'm picking it up. If I can't find a book at the library that I need for a challenge, if I don't own it, it's not at the library, it's not on Scribd. I do have a Scribd subscription. I'm trying to figure out how that fits into this resolution. If I can't find it any other way, I will buy it. Preferably, this will be through an indie bookstore. I have a really great bookstore here in Atlanta called Charis Books and More. It is one of the few feminist bookstores that still exists in the United States. I try and do, if I have to special order a book, I try and do it through them whenever possible. If a favorite author is coming out with a new book or a special edition of a book, or if they're having a signing where you have to buy the book to get into the signing, I will be allowed to do that. Similarly, if a book I love is coming out with a special edition, I will allow myself to buy that. All of this is dependent on if I have the money at the time, which frequently I don't. But if I do, I will make these allowances. Number 7, reading my own shelves. You might be sensing a little bit of a theme here. This is why I found, actually I don't think I found it, I think it was linked to me somewhere, the Start on Your Own Shelf-a-thon challenge, because I need to read my books. It's that simple. Number 8, and this is a very possibly overconfident one, especially because I wrote this list of resolutions before I did the whole challenge thing. I want to finish 50% of the challenges I attempt. We'll see. Number 9, attend more book club meetings. I do belong to a real life, actual meet in person book club. I may have gone to like 3 meetings last year, and that's me guessing high. I know I went to the Night Circus one, and I think there was one other, Little Fires Everywhere. I went to that one. Maybe I only went to 2. It's entirely possible. I need to do better. These are people that are supposed to be my friends. They're people that I like. We pick books that I'm interested in. I have no excuse. This is something that I want to do, so I'm going to put the pressure on myself to do it. Frequently, I will read the book and then I don't go to the book club meeting because of social anxiety, or I let myself get in the way. You know how it is. You make a plan that you're excited about, and then when the plan comes around, you suddenly are like, I don't know. And then you don't do it. I'm really bad about that. I need to quit it. So that is the resolution. Number 10, do more book reviews. I have a good handful of digital arcs that I never reviewed because I have a complex about reviewing. I feel like, even though I want to do it because it seems fun, my hang up is the like public aspect of it. Like, I have a hard time reviewing books on Goodreads because I don't feel like my opinion should matter. Whether or not that's accurate, I would like to get over that idea and do more book reviews. To that end, as you saw in my AFB video before, I bought the book review notebook. I'm looking forward to trying to do this one this year. I think it would be a lot of fun. Also, you know, if you do lots of reviews and you get popular, they send you free books. Wouldn't hurt. That would help with my no buy. I'm not spending money on those. Ha ha ha, evil plot. Number 11, log my reading in my reading planner daily, which I've actually been pretty good about this past year. Not phenomenal though, so I would like to keep up what I'm doing and improve upon it. Number 12, I'm going to track my reading stats in a spreadsheet that a friend of mine came up with. It is intense, but it's also informative, and it falls in line with that whole examining where I'm spending my money. Also just examining overall what I'm reading and thinking about why and if it needs to change and all that kind of stuff. Number 13, more audio, which should be easy now that I'm working a 12-hour-a-day job. I've probably listened to more audio in the last 2 months than I did in the rest of the year combined because I started this job. So I'm thinking this one will be easy. We'll see how it goes. I do really enjoy listening to audiobooks. It's just a thing that if I don't have a block of time to dedicate to it, I feel like it's not worth it because I worry that I'll lose track of the story, even if it's nonfiction, which I've done before, so, you know. Number 14, catch up on my comics. I don't know if I've read any of the comics I've bought in the last 6 months. It's really bad. And it's just, I don't know. I get home, I toss them in my comic spots, and then I just kind of forget about them until the next week when I pick up the next one. I'm like, oh yeah, I should read the one before. On and on forever. And I need to stop that. or else stop spending the money, basically. Number 15, keep better track of quotes. I come across so many quotes in books that I love, and then I forget to write them down or even put them on Goodreads, and then am intensely disappointed when I either vaguely remember the quote enough to know that I don't actually remember it and I don't know where it came from or who said it, or I'll remember, oh yeah, I loved that quote that was in such and such book, or that such and such an author said, but I don't remember the quote at all. I just remember the feeling, and that feeling makes me really wish that I remembered the quote. I'd like to get better about that. Number 16, read more horror and sci-fi. I went and did the sci-fi challenge, so hopefully that'll help there. Horror is a genre that I love and somehow forget exists until October. So no more of that. I'm gonna try and read horror more regularly. I started reading, I've read Stephen King before, but I wasn't really old enough probably to understand what I was reading. So this year I started reading Stephen King for real. And I would like to, my brother really likes Stephen King, so I would like to read more of that. So that's a thing that we could share. Just as an example, obviously I know there's more to horror than Stephen King. For example, there are actually a lot of the comics that I get are horror comics. So that those two kind of go together there. Number 17, I would like to finish some series that I've started. Especially in recent years when I've gotten more into paying attention to front list. I will read a new book that comes out and then I find out it's the first in a series, but by the time the next one comes out, kind of forgotten about it, and then I never get around to it. And I'm a completionist at heart, so that bothers me when I realize it's a thing I haven't done. For example, just this year I started at least half a dozen series, and knowing that there are more books to read in those universes that I haven't touched yet irks me. So I'm gonna try and go for that. I want to read a book in Italian. This is number 18. In January, I am going to Italy on my honeymoon. Very excited about that. And I very, very badly tried to learn Italian in preparation, by which I mean I downloaded Duolingo and did it religiously for about 6 weeks last February, March, and then sort of sporadically have done it since then. So I did, in preparation for this, purchase the Italian audiobook of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. So I'm going to, as part of my year in Harry Potter, probably listen to that to complete this resolution. And I do, even though obviously I'm not going to learn Italian in the 2.5 weeks before my honeymoon, I would still, learning Italian is still a thing I would like to do. And I've heard from basically everybody that reading/listening to things in your target language helps you learn that language faster. Resolution 19. This is one that my husband contributed. Read more books together with my husband, as in book club style. We read the same book generally at the same time and discuss it and compare notes and opinions and all that kind of stuff. We've done this several times over the years and we both really enjoy it. For whatever reason, we haven't really done it recently. He's read books that I've read and then we've talked about it, but we haven't read them together. Like recently he was reading Lord of the Rings, so we talked about it because I've read Lord of the Rings, but I didn't read it with him. So we want to do that together more and have that be a thing that we do. Number 20, winding down. I'm so sorry, this is a 45-minute video. I'm a new YouTuber. Why do I think anyone's gonna listen to me? I want to write a picture book this year. Growing up, my dad used to tell this story, to me and my 3 siblings and my 2 cousins. And it was this ridiculous little story that he made up about us having an adventure. It's got that like little kids scary element, like a dark and stormy night to it, with a like hilarious ending that diffuses all the tension. It's basically like the perfect kids story. And we've been saying for years that we need to write it down, and we never have. So this year I'm going to get it written down. Oh, one of the best parts of the story is that every time a new sibling was born, the story changed to include that sibling. So this will be the finished, after my youngest sister was born, who was the last of us to be born. That will be the version that I write. And I would like, if he wants to, for my dad, because he's a really great artist, to do the illustrations for it. And I'm not thinking anything like super fancy. I'm not saying we're gonna get published or even try, but just getting that piece of our family history down on paper, where we can have it, would be really great. So that is the thing I want to get done this year. And it's funny because that story actually came up over Christmas when I was visiting. Completely, like, I didn't bring this up at all. It came up organically, and I started laughing, and I told him that that was one of my resolutions, and he just thought it was the greatest thing ever. But yeah, so those are the challenges I'm doing. Those are my resolutions. That's my 2020 plan in not a nutshell. This is a big nut, but there it is. And I will be using this YouTube channel, of course, to report on my progress or lack thereof, and we'll see how this goes. If you've stayed this long, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't get why. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, Happy New Year.